The disappearance of Frederick Valentich. The air over the Bass Strait felt strangely still on the evening of October 21st, 1978. The sun was beginning its descent, painting the sky in strokes of orange and violet, while the dark waters below mirrored the coming twilight. For 20-year-old Frederick Valentich, a pilot with just over 150 hours of flight time, it was an ordinary day in an extraordinary life. Flying had always been his passion, and though he still had much to learn, the sky was where he felt free, where his dreams took flight. Frederick's rented Cessna 182L, a single-engine aircraft marked Delta Sierra Juliet, hummed steadily as he navigated from Melbourne's Moorabbin Airport toward King Island, a quiet destination nestled in the Bass Strait. Officially, Frederick had told his family that he was going to pick up some friends and bring them back to Melbourne. But no passengers awaited him at King Island, and no arrangements had been made for his arrival. This minor discrepancy might have seemed trivial at the time, but in the days that followed, it became another shadow in a mystery that deepened with every retelling. A routine flight becomes anything but. Frederick's departure at 6:19 p.m. was unremarkable, the kind of flight he had conducted many times before. The Cessna climbed smoothly, leveling off at 4,500 feet, with the young pilot maintaining clear and calm communication with Melbourne Flight Service. The air was tranquil, and Frederick's confidence seemed to match the serenity of the skies. But as the minutes ticked by and the light faded, Frederick's voice came over the radio again. It was 7:06 p.m. when he asked a question that would set the tone for the rest of the evening. "Melbourne, this is Delta Sierra Juliet. Is there any known traffic below 5,000 feet?" The air traffic controller, surprised by the query, scanned the radar. There was no sign of any aircraft in the vicinity. "Negative. No known traffic," came the reply. There was a pause. Then Frederick's voice returned, measured but laced with unease. It's a large aircraft. It's just passed over me at least 1,000 feet above." The controller frowned. No such craft was visible on radar. Was Frederick mistaken? A small, private aircraft, perhaps? A trick of the light in the fading dusk? Frederick's voice came again, and this time it was different, uncertain, almost bewildered. "It's approaching from the east. It seems to be playing some sort of game. It's flying over me 2, 3 times, at speeds I cannot identify." The controller's concern deepened. What was he describing? A mysterious craft. Over the next few minutes, Frederick's descriptions grew increasingly strange. The object, he said, was long, metallic, and illuminated by 4 bright green lights. It moved unlike any aircraft he had ever seen, darting away with impossible speed only to reappear moments later, hovering or circling around him. "It's not an aircraft," he said at last, his voice barely above a whisper. The controller, now deeply alarmed, urged Frederick to provide more details, but his words became fragmented, interrupted by the rising tension in his tone. "It's hovering. It's not moving like anything normal." Frederick attempted to maneuver the Cessna, hoping to shake the object, but it followed effortlessly, as if mocking his every move. His breathing grew heavier, audible over the transmission, as the object continued its inexplicable behavior. Engine troubles and the final moments. At 7:12 p.m., Frederick reported engine troubles. The Cessna's engine, which had been operating flawlessly until now, began to sputter. The object, he said, was now directly above him, its green lights casting an eerie glow over his aircraft. His final words crackled over the radio, strained and filled with dread. "It's hovering on top of me. It's not an aircraft." Then came a sound, a metallic scraping noise that tore through the transmission like nails on steel. It was harsh, jarring, and unlike anything the controller had ever heard. And then, silence. Frederick Valentich was gone. The search for Frederick. Within hours, search and rescue teams were dispatched to scour the Bass Strait. Aircraft combed the skies, while boats scoured the churning waters below. For days they searched. But no trace of Frederick or his Cessna was ever found. No wreckage, no oil slicks, no floating debris, nothing. The lack of evidence was chilling. Pilots don't just vanish, and neither do planes. And yet, the Bass Strait offered no answers, only questions, theories and speculations. The mystery of Frederick Valentich's disappearance sparked a flurry of theories, each more unsettling than the last. For those who believed in extraterrestrial life, Frederick's encounter seemed to confirm their suspicions. The descriptions of the craft, its speed, its lights, its hovering motion, aligned eerily with UFO sightings reported worldwide. On the same night, multiple witnesses claimed to see strange green lights in the sky near Cape Otway, the last area Frederick was known to have flown over. Some believed that the metallic sound heard in Frederick's final transmission was the sound of his plane being pulled into an alien craft, abducted by beings from another world. Others offered more terrestrial explanations. Skeptics suggested that Frederick, young and relatively inexperienced, might have become disoriented while flying at dusk. The craft, he described, could have been a trick of the light, perhaps Venus, or reflections on the Cessna's windshield. Disorientation could have caused him to misjudge his altitude, leading to a fatal crash into the sea. But this explanation failed to account for the bizarre sounds or the many UFO sightings reported that night. Still, there were darker theories. Some speculated that Frederick, weighed down by the pressures of his training and personal struggles, staged his disappearance, flying off into the night to begin a new life. But this idea seemed far-fetched. Frederick had no history of such behavior, and his family adamantly rejected the notion. Another theory whispered of military secrets. The Bass Strait, known for its isolation, might have been the site of experimental aircraft testing. Could Frederick have stumbled upon something he wasn't meant to see? Was the mysterious craft a top-secret project? And if so, did it have something to do with his vanishing? Each theory seemed to answer one question, while raising a dozen more, leaving investigators and armchair detectives alike in a constant state of speculation. The aftermath. For Frederick's family, the lack of closure was a wound that never healed. His father, Guido Valentich, remained steadfast in his belief that Frederick had encountered a UFO, convinced by his son's descriptions and the corroborating reports from witnesses. The case attracted global attention, becoming a staple of UFO lore and aviation mystery. Over the years, new witnesses came forward, claiming to have seen green lights or heard strange noises near the Bass Strait. Yet none of these accounts brought any tangible evidence. Decades later, the disappearance of Frederick Valentich remains an enigma. The Australian Department of Transport's official investigation closed with the conclusion that the reason for the disappearance was unknown, a legacy of uncertainty. The Bass Strait, with its churning waves and unyielding silence, holds its secrets tightly. Somewhere beneath its waters, or perhaps beyond the stars, lies the truth of what happened to Frederick Valentich. Was he the victim of a tragic accident, a reckless decision, or something far beyond human comprehension? For those who look to the skies, the story of Frederick Valentich serves as both a warning and an invitation, a reminder of the mysteries that still linger in our world, and a call to explore the boundaries of what we know. As the sun sets over the horizon and the night sky fills with stars, one cannot help but wonder, what did Frederick see that night? And wherever he is, does he now have the answers we so desperately seek?